Welcome to our third handwriting challenge session. We're going to follow the same pattern of activities today. We're going to start with our warm-up activities. We're then going to do our letter formation. And then we've got a fine motor skills fun activity. I really like what we're doing today. I think you'll like it too. It's something that you can't really do along with the video. You might want to watch it and then gather together what you need and perhaps do it sometime over the weekend. So let's get started with our first warm-up activity. Our first warm-up activity is called the I don't knows. Okay, we're going to use our shoulders and we're going to shrug them up and we're going to let them go. To start with, I'd like you to sit in your chair with your hands by your side. Then put your hands out, palms facing upwards, elbows by your sides. We're going to pull them up and say, I don't know, then let them go again. Ready? I don't know. And again. I don't know. And again. I don't know. And again. I don't know. And the last time. I don't know. And relax them. Now we're going to do an exercise called butterflies that crosses the midline of our bodies. It's another one based on remember we had number 8, fell on its side, lazy 8. Butterflies is based on the lazy 8s. So the first thing you do is stretch your hands out in front of you, both hands together. Then cross your thumbs to make an X with them so they're joined. Bend your hands upwards, your wrists, so that your palms are facing forwards and you can see the back of your hands. So they should be straight out in front of you, and then we're going to draw those lazy 8s with both hands together. We're going to move over to the left first. So go round, cross over in front of your body, and round the other way. We're going to keep going 4 more times. That's 1 more time. 2 more times. 3 more times. 4 more times. Now we're going to do it in the other direction, so we're going to go to the right. Ready? One. 2. 3. 4. 5. And relax. And our third exercise is to get our fingers moving. It's called pencil flip. For this you need your hand and you need a pencil. You are going to put, if I turn this way maybe you can see better, you're going to put your thumb on one side and your fingers together on the other side. And then you are going to very carefully and slowly walk your fingers and thumb up to the top of the pencil. Do it carefully and then flip the pencil over and go up the other side. That's the second time we've been up the pencil. We're going to do it 4 times altogether. So flip it over and walk up again very carefully, little bit at a time, keeping control of the pencil so you don't drop it. And flip it over once more and walk your fingers and your thumb carefully up the pencil. Fantastic. Now you're going to swap, so it's the other side. So I'll turn around so you can see my hand this way. Hold it with your other hand. This is harder for me because it's my left hand. That's not the hand I use for writing. Very carefully. I'll have to concentrate a lot more for this one. Work the way up to the top of the pencil and flip it over and go back down again. That's 2. Flip it over. 3. Flip it over. You lost control there. Keep working on it. 4. And we're finished. Well done. If you could do that, you can try doing it with both hands at once. I've had to find 2 pencils that are about the same length, and then very slowly work your way up to the top of the pencil, and you're going to flip them at the same time. So you get to the top, flip them over, and then work down the other way, making your fingers just a tiny bit at a time. That was a bit tricky. Okay, you have a go of that. The letters we're going to do today are straight line letters. So we do a curved leading stroke and then there's a straight line. The first one we're going to do is the letter I. So watch carefully, leading stroke, straight down, exit stroke, go back and do your dot. Watch again, leading stroke, straight down, exit stroke, go back and do the dot. I is a half size letter, it doesn't fill the whole space between the lines. Watch again, do one in the air in front of you, leading stroke, straight down, exit stroke, and the dot. Just have a little practice at doing some of those. Pause and practice the letter I. Next it's the letter L, very similar to doing an I, except for it's a tall letter, it ascends right to the top. So we do the leading stroke, go right up to the top, then come down and exit stroke. So it's very similar, doesn't have a dot and is tall. Leading stroke, straight down and exit stroke, and another one. Leading stroke, straight down and an exit stroke. Have a go at doing some of them on your own. Pause and practice the letter L. And next we have the letter T. Letter T is an interesting letter because it's not half size, it's not whole size, it's in between. It's a 3/4 high letter. Watch carefully. We do the leading stroke. We don't go quite up to the line above, but we go higher than the I. Come down, go round, and then put your cross on it. Next one, leading stroke, nearly to the top but not quite. Down, exit stroke, put the T cross. Next one, leading stroke, not quite to the top, down, exit stroke, put the T cross. Just have a stop and have a go at doing that yourself. Pause and practice the letter T. Our next letter is the letter X. Now I don't like writing the letter X because it doesn't join properly, but thankfully we don't have many X's in words. So what happens with the X is we have the leading stroke, then we have a straight line going down there, and a little bit of an exit stroke, but that's not really the end of the story. You come back and you have to take your pen off to do this. You do an extra line to make it into an X. Watch again, leading stroke, straight line but going down diagonally, little bit of an exit stroke, but it's not really the end. You come back and you go across. And one more, do it in the air in front of you. Leading stroke, down diagonally, little bit of an exit stroke, then down to make the cross. Turn it off and have a go. Pause and practice the letter X. And the last letter today is another letter that we don't get to write very often. So I'm just going to write it over here because I've run out of space at the bottom. It's the letter Z. So it has a leading stroke, then it goes straight across, diagonally down, straight across the bottom, ready for the next letter. Okay. Leading stroke, straight across, straight down, along the bottom, ready for the next letter. And another one. Leading stroke, straight across, diagonally down to the line, across the bottom, ready for the next letter. You have a few goes at doing Zs, please, now. Pause and practice the letter Z. Now I'm going to have a little go at joining some of these letters. Because they both start and finish down near the line, they're easy joiners. Okay, So let's join two L's because we often get two L's together, like in the word all or ball or doll. Let's have a go. Leading stroke, straight up, it's tall letter, down to the bottom. Lead into the next one, straight up, down to the bottom, and exit stroke. And again, leading stroke, up, down to the bottom, exit stroke into the next one, up to the top, down, and exit stroke. And let's join the T's. Now the important thing with a T and joined handwriting is you finish the word that you're writing, then you go back and cross the T's. So when we're joining two T's, it will look like two L's, except they're a little bit shorter, and then we'll go back and cross them afterwards. So watch carefully. Leading stroke, down, exit stroke, into the next one, down, exit stroke, and then go back, cross that T, cross that T. Let's do it again. Leading stroke, remember it doesn't go right to the line at the top, down, leading stroke, down, exit stroke, cross that T, cross that T. I'm not going to do two X's together because I can't think of any word where two X's come together, and it's tricky for joining. So we will join two Z's because they start and they finish down near the line, and we get two Z's together in words like buzz. So leading stroke, straight across, straight down, straight across, lead into the next one, up, straight across, straight down, cross, ready for the next one. Let's do another double Z. So leading stroke, straight across the top, diagonally down, across the bottom, and lead into the next one. So you can have a little go now, stop the video, have a go at practicing joining L's, T's and Z's. I think the Z's are the most tricky. Pause and practice joining your letters. So now we're just going to quickly go over every letter that we've learnt so far in the 3 sessions. We started with C, then we had A, then we had D, then we had G, and we had Q, and we had S, and we had E. We also had O, but we've talked about how that's a difficult one to join, so we're not going to use that in our joining. And we've also now done I, L, T, X, and Z. So now we can write lots of different words. I'm going to start, because I've got T now, I'm going to do a 2-letter word. I'm just going to write at. So I need at, A and T. Straight into the T, and at the end I have to remember to go back and cross my T. Okay, you can have a go at writing that, and also I want to write the word all, because I've got L now, so I'm going to join that with my A. Remember, all is A and 2 L's, so I write A, and it goes straight into the L, which is a tall letter, and that goes into the next L, and it's only then that I take my pen off. And another word we could write that uses S-A and T is sat. So let's write sat together. So start like a curly cup, but it wiggles round and round. And then into the A that starts like a C as well. That goes up and comes straight down, and then into the T. And you have to remember to go back and cross the T. Let's write sit as well, so we use the I, we haven't used that yet. So similar to sat, but sit. So leading stroke, curve back, curve and curve like a snake, come out of it, do the I, and go for a taller letter. You can tell it's a T, even without the cross, because it's taller than I. And go back, do the dot on the I and the cross on the T. You always go back at the end for the dots and the crosses. And I think I'll leave it there, because I think you could think of a lot of different words made from those letters now. But when you write them, don't just get carried away doing as many words as you can. Think carefully about your handwriting. When you've written a word, look at it. Did you join it in the right way? Did you form all the letters correctly? It's not just a competition to get loads of words. It's trying to write the words with correct handwriting and correct joining. Maybe if you find loads of words, you can send a list of the words you found to your class teacher. Pause and practice writing words with the letters that we have been practicing so far. And now it's time for our fine motor skill activity. I'm not going to tell you what it is straight away. I'm going to give you some clues. So, for our fine motor skill activity, I'm going to be using this. In fact, I've got two of those to use. I'm also going to be using some of this. And I'm going to be using this, and I'm going to be using some of this. Have you got any ideas what I might be doing today? If you think it's something to do with baking, you're quite right. We are going to be making a fruit crumble. I remember, year two, how good you were when we made banana bread, how amazing you were at being cooks and bakers. So we're going to work on that a bit more, and we're going to do a special technique that uses our fingers. We're not going to use a mixing spoon. We're not going to use a food mixer. I have to admit, I usually use a food mixer. I don't use my fingers. We're using our fingers in a way that improves our fine motor skills and helps our writing. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to weigh out my flour and my butter, and I'm going to rub them in. Now I'm going to move everything so that you can see me doing the work with my hands. So now we're ready to start on making the crumble. First of all, I'm going to weigh out 100 grams of flour. I'm using my scales to do this. If you don't have any scales, if you use a tablespoon, I think 4 heaped tablespoons, those big spoons, are about the same as 100 grams. So, my bowl ready to hold it, and I'm going to go on until my scales say 100. Let's hope I can get it right so I don't have to put any back. A bit more, 76 I'm up to, a little bit more, 90, how much more have I got to go? 90 up to 100, yes that's right, it's just 10 more grams. There we are, 100 grams. Right, I'm going to tip that into my big bowl where I'm going to do the rubbing in. Then next on my list it says 50 grams of butter or margarine. I'm going to use butter, but you might like to use margarine. Maybe you don't eat dairy products or animal products. Either works perfectly well. And I've just remembered I haven't got a knife, so I've just got to go off and get one. So now it's time to weigh out 50 grams of the butter. Open it up, cut a bit off, put that on the scales. Oh, that's 45 grams, that was a good estimate. 49, can I make it 50 with that tiny bit? Maybe a bit more. Oh, taking a bit to get up to 50. Hopefully this will do it. 50. Just gone over. It will do, it's near enough. Right, I need to chop up that butter small because then I'm going to put it in the bowl and rub it in, and the smaller it is, the easier it is to rub in. So I'm just going to stop the video for a moment while I do that. So here's my butter all chopped up. I'm going to tip that into the bowl with the flour. And now this is the bit where you get your fingers into it and you work those hands to rub the butter into the flour till they're all in little tiny pieces, and we say it looks a bit like breadcrumbs. So the action you're going to use is rubbing your thumbs across your fingers. You're going to keep picking up the mixture and rubbing it, and gradually the butter will get mixed into the flour and we'll get that breadcrumb texture, a bit like sand with big lumps in. Are you ready? Okay, off we go. So you feel this, my butter's really hard because it's been in the fridge, but you just keep going, lifting it up, squeezing it between your thumb and your fingers, making those bits of butter smaller. Gradually, they'll get mixed in with the flour too. So keep lifting it up, squeezing it between your fingertips and the tip of your thumb. You don't get the middle bit of your hand dirty at all. It's all in the fingers and your thumb that are doing the work here. If you rub your palms of the hand in, it won't do anything because it won't break the butter down. So it's just about rubbing that butter till it goes into little pieces. We cut it into quite small pieces, but it's got to go a lot smaller than that. And probably what I'll do now is speed up the video, so I won't do any more talking. As you move on with this, you'll see that the lumps of butter get smaller and smaller. Keep putting your fingers down into the bottom of the bowl to scoop out the flour from the bottom, because otherwise you get a layer where it's all mixing in and a layer that's just flour at the bottom. So put your fingers down to the bottom, lift it up. Keep going. It takes a long time. You need to persevere here. Don't stop too soon or your crumble won't be delicious. There. I think that will just about do. There's some slightly bigger lumps, but that's rubbed in quite well. And what I'm going to do now is go and wash my hands ready for the next bit, because you'll find when you do rubbing in, it all sticks. Okay, so I'll just go and wash my hands. I'll be back in a minute. So now that we've done our rubbing in, the next job is to weigh out and add the sugar. Now the recipe says, let's have a look at it, 50 grams of sugar. So I've got my scale set on 0. I need to measure out 50 grams. I'm going to use a spoon because that's easier to control it. In it goes. I think if you want to do your measuring the ingredients with a spoon, I think that is about 25 grams. Let's see if... Oh, it's a little bit over, so a slightly smaller spoon than that is 25 grams, okay? So you can use a spoon for measuring for crumble. It doesn't need to be exact. So that would be 2 rounded big spoonfuls of sugar. So pop that in and give it a good mix. You can use a spoon now. Make sure it all gets evenly distributed through the rubbed in flour and butter mixture. And that's our crumble topping finished. It's ready to go on the top of our fruit. The fruit isn't ready yet. So now I'm going to get the apples ready. I think I'll speed up that bit of film because you might not do the apples. But just remember, if you are using a peeler and a knife, you need to be really, really careful with them. So now I've peeled and I've chopped the apple and I've put them in my special dish that I'm using for the crumble to cook it in. And now I'm going to just add a bit of sugar. And the reason I'm adding sugar is because these big apples are cooking apples and they're not very sweet at all. If you've used eating apples, normal apples, you might not need to add any sugar, but this does need sugar adding. So I'm just going to add maybe a little bit more because they are very sour. Just going to mix that in a little bit. All of the apples get a little bit of sweetness. There we go. And now all I have to do is tip the crumble mixture. I'll move it along a bit so you can see better. Tip the crumble mixture that we prepared earlier over the top. I want to get a little bit of crumble on all of it. This is a bit of a big dish. You might find it better to use a smaller dish. And then I'll just use this wooden spoon because it's dry. Just to spread it, to try and cover up all the fruit. I think I should have used a smaller dish. I usually do, but I like this dish better. And seeing as it was a video, I thought I'd show off my best dish. That hasn't really worked, has it? Maybe I need to mix up a bit more crumble mixture to go on the top. I think I might do that. Because I like my fruit covered up a little bit more than that. So if you use a smaller dish and less fruit, yours will be better. So I'm just going to mix up a bit more crumble mixture and then I'm going to pop it in the oven to cook and I will show you it when it's finished. Now I've mixed up some more crumble mixture and added it to the top of the pie dish, and I thought I'd show you it just before I put it in the oven. Now, you don't need to use apples to make your crumble. Crumble tastes nice with lots of different sorts of fruit. One of my favourite crumbles is pear crumble, and I put little bits of lovely gingery chocolate in the crumble too. You can use frozen fruit. I've got some fruit from my freezer here, some frozen blueberries. There's not enough to make a crumble, but if you buy a big packet, there would be. That's a lot easier than peeling and chopping apples. You could also use tinned fruit. The only tin of fruit I could find in my cupboard is some prunes. I have to admit I don't really like prunes, and I don't think I'd like prune crumble, but it could be nice. But other tins of fruit like tinned pears or tinned apricots or maybe even tinned peaches would make lovely crumble. So you don't need to do the peeling and chopping because that could need a lot of help from an adult. You could use some frozen or some tinned fruit instead. And now I'm really excited because the crumble is cooked. Oops. So it smells delicious. I hope you get a chance to make some crumble. I'll show you what it looks like inside. There you are. The apple's nice and soft and the top's all crumbly. I'm just waiting for Mr. Bartlett to come back from the shop with some cream to pour on the top of it. Let me know how you get on with making crumble. Maybe you'll use some interesting fruit that I haven't thought of using before. Have a good weekend. See you next week. Bye.